Hi, I'm Simon with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we're going to show you how to repair your appliance. Are you ready? Remember, anytime you work on your appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we'll show you how to replace the motor and blower assembly in a Samsung dryer. It's going to be a very easy repair. Should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. For the job, we're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. When you open up the package, you're going to get a new motor and blower assembly. This is the motor and blower assembly that includes motor, blower wheel, blower housing, idler arm with pulley, idler spring, broken belt switch, motor bracket, thermistor, and thermal fuse. The main reason for the motor and blower assembly to be replaced is if the motor fails and must be replaced. The price of the motor is so close to the price of the assembly that it makes sense to get the assembly and save yourself time and effort. Plus, you can keep the small parts from the old assembly and use them when needed. To get to the part, we need to remove the top panel, which is held in place by two screws, one in each corner. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to take them out. Now I'm going to remove the top panel. I'm going to slide it back, and then we can lift it off. Next, we're going to remove this control panel. It's removed by pulling up and towards you. So I start from one corner. All right, we're going to tilt it forward and remove it. Next, we're going to disconnect these two plugs. I'm going to press this locking tab and pull it apart. I'll have here a locking tab here. I'm going to push it in and pull it apart. And now we can remove the control panel. Next, we're going to open the door. And then I'm going to remove two screws here at the bottom. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to close the door partially, and we're going to work on the top of the front panel. Phillips screwdriver, we're going to take out the 4 screws on the top of the front panel. And now I'm going to slightly lift it up. And tilt it forward. Don't go too far with this front panel because we have this harness. And connect the door switch. I'm going to disconnect that harness. Pull it apart. Now we can close the door and tilt it forward until you're going to clear that bottom hinges. Pull it up, and then we can remove it. Next step would be removing this top brace. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. We're going to take 5 screws out. We're going to remove this top brace. And then I'm going to pull out these 2 harnesses out of the retainer. Next, we're going to disconnect this plug. All right, I'm going to press down this locking tab here and pull it apart. Now we need to remove this front bulkhead. 4 screws on the side and 1 screw at the bottom. They're all Phillips screws, so we're using a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to take them one by one out. Now we're going to remove this harness from the retainer. I'm going to open it and slide it out and put it aside out of the way. The front bulkhead is locked to the cabinet on the sides with 2 hooks on the top of these brackets, and on this side there are two hooks at the bottom of these brackets. So all we need to do is lift up on the bulkhead and remove it. All right, so we're gonna lift up on the front bulkhead. I'm going to put my foot on the base of the dryer, so we'll keep it in place. Lift up and pull away. I'm gonna leave the drum too, so we can release these rollers. All right, I'm gonna dive in with both hands, and we're going to remove the belt from the idler and the motor pulleys. We're going to push the idler arm with the pulley towards the motor pulley, and then we can release the belt from both of them and slowly let that idler pulley down. Now I'm going to pull up the belt right there and lift up the drum, and we're going to take it out of the cabinet. Next, I'm going to disconnect those two plugs on the blower assembly and one motor plug. Pull them off and squeeze those tabs here and pull it off. Next would be taking out 3 screws, 2 on this side, 1 here, that holds the motor to the base. That's a Phillips screwdriver I'm using. And the last plug to disconnect on the motor assembly here, on the motor blower assembly, we're gonna disconnect this broken belt switch plug. Simply pull it out. With all this preparation done, all we need to do is just remove this assembly out. Slide this to the right, and then tilt it slightly forward so we can remove this housing from the exhaust duct. And now we can take it out. Now, when we took everything out, use the opportunity to vacuum everything what's inside. This is the old motor and blower assembly next to the new one. If you don't have this part, you can get it from appliancepartspros.com. All right, so let's bring this motor and blower assembly, and we're going to mount it. These 2 tabs at the base of the motor will be inserted and locked into these 2 cutouts at the base. Then we're going to secure it with screws. So I'm going to first place it on. Don't slide it on completely. Then I'm going to lock this exhaust duct over the housing here, and then I'm going to push it all the way to the left side as far as it can go. Well, it's in already, and you can tell that this hole is matching, so we can secure it with a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to place this screw first. I won't tighten it yet. I'm going to place 2 more screws on the opposite side, and then we're going to tighten this one. Alright, so we're going to place this screw right in here and tighten it. And this one in the corner. And I'm going to tighten this one, the first screw. Alright, now I got rid of my gloves, and we're going to connect all these wiring harnesses. And start with this one. This is the broken belt switch. Insert it in and push it in all the way. Next, we're going to connect this harness. That's 2 plugs. Push it on. You you can't mix them around, they different sizes, so don't worry about that. Alright, so now we're going to connect this motor switch plug. Push it in, it's going to lock on the top and at the bottom. Next, I'm going to bring the drum and install it. Need to place this edge at the bottom over the support rollers, so it will touch the rear bulkhead like this. Well, now we're going to again dive in with both hands under the drum, and we're going to install the belt onto the pulleys. I'm going to pull on that idler arm and place the belt onto the idler pulley, just like that. And then I'm going to push it more till we're going to place it onto the motor pulley. Alright, now I want you to spin the drum clockwise slowly, one full turn, to make sure that the belt is installed properly. Alright, so we got lucky this time, and it's fine. Alright, it's the time for installing the front bulkhead. This rollers goes underneath of the drum, and this edge goes inside the blower compartment. So I'm going to put it in, support it with my foot, lift up on the drum slightly, place the rollers under, and now we're going to install this hooks into the cutouts. So I'm lifting it up slightly. Alright, I'm going to install the harness into this retainer. Slide it in and twist it and lock it. And now we're going to secure this front bulkhead to the cabinet, and using a Phillips screwdriver. I'd like to plug this moisture sensor plug back in. Make sure it's locked. Alright, I'm going to install this top brace, and I'm going to start with placing the two harnesses here into the retainer and locking the retainer. I'm going to place them both through this cutout. And we're going to install that. We have cutouts here on the side and on top and the side, on both sides, and we have these tabs that are going to fit into these cutouts. And now we're going to secure this top brace with screws. I need to install the brace properly into the cutouts and that control panel. This control board goes over the top, and we place this into the slot, and now we can secure it with the screws. Press it in, match the holes, and we're going to install this bottom screw. The old Phillips screws, so I'm using the same screwdriver. And then this one. And one here that will secure this brace to this control board bracket. Alright, now I'm going to place the front panel on. First we're going to install the bottom. We have 3 slots at the bottom, and we have 3 hinges. I'm going to tilt it forward and install the bottom on the hinges. Next, we're going to connect the harness to the door switch. Push it in. And if you noticed, I'm wearing gloves for this particular job because this edge is very sharp. Then bring the panel close to the cabinet and press it on. I have two latches here that should lock in. And next we're going to secure it with 4 screws. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to install these 4 screws. Next I'm going to open the door and I'm going to install 2 screws here at the bottom. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. After that, we can close the door. Next step would be installing the control panel. Bring it in, and I'm going to plug in these 2 plugs. Push it in, make sure it's locked. Then we're going to install the control panel. Lock the bottom pins and push this to lock the top. Now we can install the top panel. Place it about 2 inches away from the front and slide it forward so it will lock in front. Next, we're going to secure the top panel with a couple of screws at the back. I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. Plug the dryer in and check if it's drying properly. Thank you for being a part of another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. For any of your future appliance repair projects, please check out our other videos available on our site, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram.